Kore Mapenduka and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that brings you the latest news in Africa and beyond. My name is Glenn Rashipura, joined by Diana Master. Good morning, girl. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm very well. I slept quite well.
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday and it rained last night.
It rained last night, yes, actually. And it poured quite a bit.
Yes, it did.
We're grateful for the rains. Let's get into what you can expect in today's broadcast. 40 dead in attack on army and volunteers in North Burkina Faso. Sudan generals deadly fight for power. 55 migrants rescued in the central Mediterranean. We're also going to be crossing over to Zambia to speak to Mr. Mike Sichila, who will update us on the news making headlines at that side. Stick around because we'll get into our top stories right after this break.
To another exciting episode of Oneuptwo. Jou is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik gaan byt.
Let's get into your top stories. 40 dead in attack on army and volunteers in North Burkina Faso. Unidentified assailants killed 40 people and wounded 33 others in an attack on the army and volunteer defense forces in northern Burkina Faso, the government said in a statement on Sunday. The attack took place on Saturday in the village of Aroma near the town of Oneuptwo in the north region, not far from the border with Mali, an area overrun by Islamist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State that have carried out repeated attacks for years. It is not clear which group carried out the attack. It comes 9 days after gunmen killed 44 people in the village of Karakwao and Tondobi in the north of the West African country. 6 soldiers and 34 members of a volunteer defense force were killed in Saturday's attack, the statement said. The government has encouraged civilians to join local defense forces to try and stem 8 years of violence in which thousands of people have died and millions have been forced to flee their homes.
Moving over, Sudan generals deadly fight for power. What we know so far, nearly 100 civilians have died and hundreds wounded in ongoing battles between Sudan's regular army and a powerful paramilitary force after long-running bitter brinkmanship spilled into conflict. At its heart lies 2 rival generals, Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his deputy Mohamed Hamdan Daglo, commander of the large and heavily armed paramilitary rapid support forces formed from members of the Janjaweed militia that led years of violence in Darfur. Together they seized power in a 2021 coup. On Saturday, their jostling for power erupted into violence, both in the capital Khartoum and other cities across Sudan, with deafening explosions, airstrikes, artillery fire, and intense gunfire in densely packed neighborhoods. Each general accused the other of starting the fight, and both have made claims they control key sites which could not be independently verified. In October 2021, Burhan and Daglo together orchestrated a coup, upending a fragile transition to civilian rule that had been started after the 2019 ouster of longtime autocrat Omar al-Bashir. Burhan, a career soldier from northern Sudan who rose the ranks under the 3-decade rule of now jailed Bashir, took the top job. Daglo, from Darfur's pastoralist camel-herding Arab Rizegat people, assumed responsibility as his number 2, but it was only ever a marriage of convenience, according to independent researcher and policy analyst Hamid Kalafala.
In our next story, 55 migrants rescued in the central Mediterranean. Italian charity emergency vessel Life Support rescued migrants from Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Eritrea, Nigeria, Palestine, Sudan, and Somalia on Saturday afternoon. Among the rescued were women, 3 children, and 3 unaccompanied minors. The charity expected 3 days of sailing to reach their assigned location of disembarkation, Marina di Carrara, located in northern Italy. Now, Emmanuel Nannini, the head of mission of Emergency Life Support, detailed the Operation Life Support Emergency Search and Rescue Vessel has just accomplished the rescue of 55 people from a rubber boat which was drifting away from the Libyan coast. They left from 12 hours, but their outboard engine was out of service since hours. Now, according to the UN Migration Agency, the first 3 months of 2023 were the deadliest first quarter in 6 years for migrants crossing the central Mediterranean Sea in smugglers' boats. Citing nations' delays in initiating rescues as a contributing factor, the International Organization for Migration documented 441 migrant deaths along the dangerous sea route between northern Africa and Europe's southern shores during January, February, and March. In 2017, 742 known deaths were documented in the same period, while 446 were recorded in the first 3 months of 2015.
Moving over to South Africa, Ramaphosa extends army deployment in Mozambique, DRC at cost nearly 2 billion rand. President Cyril Ramaphosa has extended the deployment of South African troops in Mozambique and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which will cost taxpayers close to 2 billion rand. Ramaphosa informed Parliament's presiding officers of the move in a letter dated 6 April. In his letter to National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula and National Council of Provinces Chairperson Amos Masondo, Ramaphosa said the deployment of troops in Mozambique would be extended to April 2024. The extension will be from 16 April 2023 and until 15 April 2024, and the expenditure expected to be incurred is estimated to be just a little over 984 million rand, according to the president. The SADC mission in Mozambique and the Rwandan Defense Force in Mozambique are battling Islamic extremists who have waged war in Cabo Delgado since 2017.
In some exciting news, Ugandan ghetto kids make history at Britain's Got Talent. Uganda Ghetto Kids has made a powerful debut on Britain's Got Talent, leaving an unforgettable impression on the judges and audiences alike. Their dance performance was so electrifying that they made history. The golden buzzer, which is to be pressed after the end of the show, was pressed in the middle of the performance by one of the judges who couldn't control his joy watching the kids dance. Headed by Dauda Kavuma, the orphanage provides shelter to 30 homeless children and some orphans. Ugandan Ghetto Kids, as described by their founder, are on a mission to uplift children in all facets of their existence, leveraging the power of music and drama to create a brighter future. The Ugandan Ghetto Kids have attracted the world's attention with their outstanding dance performances. The hard work they invest in dance has earned them both national and international recognition.
And now bringing us to the end of our top stories, Ramaphosa signs controversial electoral amendment bill. South Africa has a valid electoral act again after President Cyril Ramaphosa signed the electoral amendment bill. Excuse me. The presidency announced on Monday that Ramaphosa signed the bill, which allows independent candidates to contest national and provincial elections. The bill gives effect to a constitutional court judgment that was handed down on the 11th of June 2020. The Apex Court declared the Electoral Act unconstitutional to the extent that it requires that adult citizens may be elected to the National Assembly and provincial legislatures only through their membership of political parties. But it suspended the declaration of unconstitutionality for 24 months to afford Parliament an opportunity to remedy the defect, giving rise to the unconstitutionality. Parliament, however, initially deferred to the Executive and Home Affairs Minister Arnon Motsoaledi, only introduced the bill to the legislature in January 2022. Parliament had to approach the Constitutional Court twice for deadline extensions, the final deadline being 28 February. The National Assembly passed the bill on 23 February with the support of the ANC, EFF, Good Party, and Al Jamaa.
A Zambian student in Morocco has drowned in the Mediterranean Sea. We get into this story after the break when we cross over to Zambia.
Discover the breathtaking beauty of Namibia with Tourismus, a captivating program that uncovers the country's diverse landscapes, wildlife, and cultural experiences. Featuring insightful interviews with tourism experts, each episode takes you on a mesmerizing journey, exploring Namibia's majestic sand dunes, vibrant wildlife, and unique attractions. Watch Tourismus on NTV, Saturdays at 20:30 in German, and Sundays at 6 p.m. in English, for a heartwarming and unforgettable adventure.
Now we cross on over to Zambia to speak to Mr. Mark Sichula, who's going to give us the latest news on the ground. Good morning, Mr. Sichula.
Africa, good morning. It's a very lovely morning. How are you doing?
All right, let's get into your first story. The Bank of Zambia has attributed the appreciation of the local currency, the kwacha, against the US dollar to successful talks with the International Monetary Fund. Can you please give us the details?
Yes. According to Bank of Zambia Governor Denny Kariaria, He says the staff level agreement which Zambia and the International Monetary Fund reached last week over the first installment of the financial bailout has contributed to the appreciation of the kwacha. So Dr. Carrera says the market saw the agreement as a positive move and that things are moving well economically. He says talks with in Washington, D.C. move closer to the signing of a memorandum of understanding on debt restructuring. The kwacha is expected to stabilize further. As we speak, the kwacha is the one kwacha is trading around 18 kwacha to one United States dollar, a drop from about 21 kwacha to one United States dollar. So he says this is when once the talks are done, then the kwacha is likely to appreciate further.
Now moving on to your next story. In a bid to stabilize the price of mealie meal, the Food Reserve Agency has started moving maize from areas of surplus to affected ones to help meet the demand of mealie meal production. Can you get into this?
Yes, like I did say last week, Zambia has been experiencing an increased smuggling of mealie meal, especially into the Democratic Republic of Congo. So the Food Reserve Agency has told the nation that there is 300 metric tons of maize in reserves, which is enough to last for the next harvest. So in order to ensure that all the regions do have sufficient maize, the Food Reserve Agency now is moving stock where it is surplus to areas where there is a deficit. This was reviewed by FRA board chairperson Kelvin Hambweze, who says this is to ensure that mealie meal is available in all parts of the country. And he did assure the nation to say there's no need for citizens to panic, as the country has over 3,000 metric tons of maize in its reserve, which is able to last to the next harvest. So he says this after he toured the Lundazi Depot in the eastern part of Zambia, which is housing over 32,000 metric tons of maize.
All right, now moving on, President Hakainde Hichilema has signed into law the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill to allow workers a partial withdrawal of pensions. Let's get into the details.
Yes, the president did assent to the bill yesterday, and it is expected that government workers are going to withdraw at least 20% of their pensions that are which they can now use for various investments that they want to use. So this is a promise that President Hakainde Hichilema made during prior to the 2021 general elections. So when he signed the bill, he said that this is in line with our promise to the Zambian people to allow for partial withdrawal of pensions. So the new bill will give citizens an opportunity to reinvest their funds into various ventures and assets of their choice. As a result of this, more jobs will be created, contributing to economic development. That is the expectation of President Hichilema after he did sign to this bill.
Now, on a rather sad note, a Zambian student in Morocco has drowned in the Mediterranean Sea. What happened?
Yes, so according to Higher Education's Loans and Scholarship Board senior corporate manager, she says that Samuel Banda, who has been identified, he drowned while he went with 6 others, Zambia students, to swim in the Mediterranean Sea. So she says Mr. Banda was a final year architect student studying in the city of Marrakesh. Then the body of Mr. Banda has since been recovered by emergency authorities, and the family has been informed about the death, and the body is expected to be repatriated to Zambia. And the scholarship board has also expressed sadness by the death of Mr. Banda, who was under government sponsorship. So it is something that the student and his friends went out for fun, but it was unlucky. Mr. Banda was unlucky that he met his fate and died, as he could not manage to swim, and rescue operations were not nearby to do the needful.
That is truly sad indeed. Thank you so much, Mr. Sishila, for updating us on all the latest news in Zambia.
Thank you so much. Africa, good morning.
Let's take a look at the weather predictions before we come back with our economic news.
Let's get into our economic news. Nigerian aviation workers block roads and strike over pay conditions. Nigerian aviation employees on Monday blocked roads to the domestic terminal of Lagos Airport, slowing traffic and threatening to delay flights as they began a two-day strike in protest over working conditions and wages. The strike is likely to add to problems in a sector that regularly faces jet fuel shortages, which often ground local flights, and where international carriers struggle to repatriate revenue from ticket sales due to a shortage of foreign currency. In the commercial capital Lagos, chanting workers blocked roads to the domestic terminal, creating a traffic jam and forcing passengers to finish their journey on foot.
Now, world gas supply shifts from shortage to glut with demand muted. The world is becoming awash with natural gas, pushing prices lower and creating an overabundance of the fuel in both Europe and Asia, at least for the next few weeks. The trend has been a rare sight over the past year since the war in Ukraine upended energy markets, and Europe rushed to secure as many alternative supply sources as possible. Now, inventories are filling up from South Korea to Spain, a result of mostly mild winter weather and efforts to reduce consumption. Tankers filled with liquefied natural gas, a stopgap in replacing lost Russian pipeline flows, now often struggle to find a home, spending weeks idling at sea.
We now take a look at the economic indicators before we get into your sports news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with cycling news, and that is cycling news from the Oneuptwo Gold Race. That is one of the elite one-day races in Europe. It was in the men's division 253 kilometers, and the women's division it was 158 kilometers. In the men's division, the Oneuptwo Gold Race winner for 2023 is Tajes Pogačar, and he dominated the race. He won by 38 seconds over Ben Healy in second place, and also then third place it was Thomas Ridcock, a full 2 minutes and 14 seconds behind Pogačar. Pogačar showing his quality. He's also the Tour de France winner, and his quality to win the race by quite a distance. His time was 6 hours, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Then on the women's race, 158 kilometers, it was the Netherlands' Demi Vollering. She won in 4 hours, 6 minutes and 54 seconds. She was 8 seconds ahead of the second placed racer, and that was Lotte Kopecky of Germany. And then the bunch came in after that. It was Sharon van Androoy of the Netherlands in third position. Good result also for Ashley Moorman-Pasio. She also finished in the pack, and she was timed in 8th position. Demi Vollering of the Netherlands, it was her third win. She also won or the first win since being second, rather, in 2021 and 2022. So a good win for Vollering following her close finishes in the previous 2 years. Going on to tennis news, and it is the new world rankings. It's Andrei Rublev that's up to number 6 in the world rankings. That's after winning the Monte Carlo Masters. He beat Holger Rune in the final, and Holger Rune also up from number 9 to number 7 in the world rankings. The next tournament is the Barcelona Open, but Andrei Rublev not playing in that tournament. It is Holger Rune that will be in action, and other seeds in the Barcelona Open that will play at the Real Club at the Tennis de Barcelona. It will be number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz, and number 2 seed will be Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece, and number 3 seed will be Casper Ruud. It's Carlos Alcaraz currently the world number 2, and Novak Djokovic the world number 1, also not playing in the Barcelona Open this week. Continuing international sports news with MotoGP news, and it's Alex Rins of Spain that moves into the 3rd place overall after winning the past weekend in America, the America's Grand Prix, and he's now in 47 points. That is Alex Rins, and in the 3rd position. In 1st position is Mario Bezzecchi, first with 64 points after 3 races. And then in 2nd place, Francesco Bagnaia with 53 points. The top 2, they're both with Ducati motorcycles that they race. And it is Alex Rins that is in 3rd position in his Honda. Actually, the Honda win in America the past weekend was the first in MotoGP for the past 5 years for Honda. So quite a significant win for Alex Rins in Austin, Texas. Southern African interest, it is Brad Binder of South Africa. He is 9th overall on the points. That is with 30 points. The next race will be this coming weekend. It's the Spanish Grand Prix. And closing off today's international sports news with golf news, it is English golfer Matthew Fitzpatrick that won the past weekend, the RBC Heritage Classic, and he moved up from number 16th in the world now to number 8 in the world. He's all of a sudden in the top 10 in the world rankings. He won in the playoff against Jordan Spieth. He was the defending champion, and Jordan Spieth also moving up quite a bit from 15th to number 9 in the world rankings. Southern African interest, it is Christian Besaidnout, the highest ranked Southern African player on the world rankings. He is number 72. He dropped from 74, 2 places better. That was after finishing tied for 19th in the tournament this past weekend. He closed with a 64 for a total of -10. The winner total was -17. Number 1 in the world still, Jon Rahm. That's the Masters winner from 2 weeks ago. Scotty Scheffler in 2nd position, and then Rory McIlroy. He's number 3 in the world. He didn't play in the past weekend, but he remains 3rd best golfer in the world rankings. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And that brings us to the end of our show. Now let's take a look at the highlights, just in case you need a quick recap. 40 dead in attack on army and volunteers in North Burkina Faso. Sudan generals deadly fight for power, what we know so far. 55 migrants rescued in the central Mediterranean. Nigerian aviation workers block roads and strike over pay and work conditions.
Do remember that Africa Good Morning is repeated on our Oneuptwo website and our DSTV channel 285 and our GoTV channel 94 between 8:30 and 9 a.m. every weekday. I am Glenora Shipura.
And I am Diana Master. But just a quick correction, we have moved to GoTV channel 25 and you can catch Africa Good Morning there. It's all our love, all our light, and until tomorrow, have a lovely day.